Hi, I'm Jenny from the Unconventional Homestead. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight is something a little different for me. I'm going to call it small batch canning. I normally deal with 60 pounds of rhubarb or 100 pounds of tomatoes, so I kind of feel like I have a night off. I weighed my apples and I only have 7 pounds, but what it is these are apples that my nephews picked with their cousins from my sister-in-law's side at an apple orchard. And one of my nephews wanted a apple cobbler, which my brother made for him, and my other nephew wanted applesauce, and he wanted to come and make it. Well, that has changed. He's 14, and I guess it's just not cool right now to come to Aunt Jenny's and cook or bake or whatever. And so I am going to make the applesauce for him. So I weighed them out because I have 2 projects. I need to make applesauce and I need to dice apples. Mom is making an apple cake for our people. I believe it's next week. And it might be the week after, I don't know. But I am peeling the apples and running them through my RoboCoupe dicer. So I know that I need 8 cups of diced apples for Mom's recipe. I'm hoping that I can get 16 cups because then I can do twice. And what I think I'm gonna do is put them in food saver bags. Normally I put them in Ziplocs, but I have my food saver right down here. I had to get it in or move it to get into my RoboCoupe blades because I said, well, what size dice? And my mom's a baker. She's just like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know now because I only had a 10 millimeter dicer blade last year. So I'm gonna make a note of that. So here's a good thing that I hope you'll remember is make notes. If I didn't know for sure that all I had last year was a 10 millimeter dicer, I would not have known what size dice. And the cake worked out wonderfully last year. She made it a few times. The people loved it. I will try to get the recipe and link it below, and maybe sometime when she's making it, she will allow me to film her. Because that has been a really well-received dessert. It's an old-fashioned apple cake. It has a sauce that you heat up and pour over it, and people really like it. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing 2 things. So what I've done is I weighed the apples and I have a little over 7 pounds. So I divided them into 3.5 pounds. 3 pounds should make 4 half pints of applesauce for my nephew. So 3.5, I definitely should get 4 half pints. He has requested cinnamon. He is an old soul. He loves molasses cookies, gingerbread, and so he did want cinnamon in it. I personally would probably add a little ginger and nutmeg, and I think he would like it. But for his first time of trying homemade applesauce, I'm just going to put cinnamon in it, and I will put a little brown sugar. I'm referring to the National Center for Food Preservation, which I will link that below. That told me 21 pounds of apples yield 7 quarts of applesauce. I love seeing that because it kind of gives you an idea of how much you need of something to get a full canner. I normally like to run a full canner, but my canner this time, it would probably be the first time it's never been completely full on a first run of the recipe. Meaning, if I have to go 2 canner loads for a recipe, I may not have a full load the second time, but I don't think I've ever canned anything 1 load that hasn't been full, because that's how I operate. But for Ben, I will do it. So anyway, but the first thing I'm going to do is get those apples diced. Normally I would do it the opposite way, but I need 8 cups for a recipe, so whatever I have left I can put towards Ben's applesauce. But I may have to pull a few and steal a few of Anthony's apples for Ben's. So I just need to kind of have an idea. And then I will make a note of how many pounds of apples I need to make 8 cups of diced apples for Mom's. So we're doing 2 things tonight. Glad you could join me. Come on in. I won't keep you here the whole time because you don't need to see me dice and peel, but I do want to show you I got this apple core this year and I love it. The reason being is I can take the core out after I've peeled and still leave it whole. And then what I do is I always put about 1 quart of water and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in a cambro, and that's what I drop my apples in. I always have a few paper towels here, and I spray them with a little bit of vinegar. That just, I can kind of wipe everything down. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my trash can here, which is what I'm going to peel into. And I probably should explain. I'm peeling into the trash and not composting because the apples aren't organic and our garden is organic. I also know that the most toxins for an apple are on the skin. So I'm choosing, my kitchen, my rule, I'm choosing not to keep those to make apple juice to just drink or to make apple jelly with. I'm throwing them away. When I do some apples for Anthony and they're organic, I will save the skins and the peels. But see how easy that is? And boom, it comes out. And you just put the core in the compost bin. But it does a really nice job. Then what I do is I immediately put it in here and I give it a little spin so that I know the lemon juice got all over everything. So it'll take a little while to get these peeled, but then I will cut them in half because they're going to go in my robo coupe and be diced. So I will bring you back when I have these done. So I have all of the apples, 3.5 pounds, peeled, cored, and I sliced them in half to go in my robo coupe to dice them for Mom. I'm looking at it now. I think I'll have enough for her to do 1 batch, which is 2 cakes. It's 4 cups per cake. I think we're gonna get 2 quarts, which is 8 cups. So I'll have enough just for 2 cakes for her, which is what she wants. I just wanted to have enough for her to be able to do it twice, but we'll see. So I'm gonna send it through the really loud RoboCoupe and I'll come back and tell you what I found. Well, as luck would have it, I don't have to steal any apples from Anthony. I got exactly 2 quarts. So I'm gonna seal this up in the food saver and write on it, always write on it, so that when I take it to Mom's, I don't have to explain to her what it's for. She'll know when it's 8 cups that it's for 2 apple cakes. So I'll start peeling Ben's apples and getting them on the stove. It says 5 to 20 minutes, and then I'll be canning up the applesauce. Who knew? So in sealing a bag, vacuum sealing, I have an off-brand sealer. I don't seal that often. In fact, I kind of was having to study it a little bit tonight because I don't use it that often. I should use it more. But I was having a problem a few years ago when I first got this. And I went on to one of my Facebook groups and said, you know, it's not sealing. Is it not working? You know, of course, I'd had it a while and hadn't tested it. And they said to definitely use the name brand Food Saver bags or rolls or whatever. And guess what? It worked. So anyway, you do want to make sure that you have 2 inches above, and then you kind of flip it down into here to hold it. So this is sealed, and I will put it in the freezer to give to Mom, and she will have her apples for her apple cake. So I'm gonna get started on Ben's applesauce. I'm gonna just get them peeled, cored, and I think I'll quarter them, put them in the lemon juice and water, and then I'll drain them and get them, bring you back when I'm ready to put them on the stove and put the brown sugar and the cinnamon with it and a little bit of water to cook them down. So I've pulled out my Center for Home Food Preservation guide, and in chapter 2, page 7 and 8, it discusses applesauce. Talks about 21 pounds for a full canner load. Once you get your apples cored or peeled and cored, you can slice them up however you want. I quartered mine. But that 21 pounds is about right, because I had a little over 4 pounds, and probably once I drain this water, it's going to be just a little over a quart. So I'm hoping I can get 5 half pints for Ben, maybe a little bit more so I could have some open, uncanned for a taste, but it doesn't matter. It's a 1/2 inch of headspace. For my elevation, under 1,000 feet, it's 15 minutes for pints or 20 minutes for quarts in a water bath or steam canner. Because I'm doing half pints, we still have to do the 15 minutes. So important things for me to remember and you to remember if you're going to do this is 1/2 inch headspace, make sure you debubble, and 15 minutes for pints or smaller. So I have my jelly pan. It's 7 quarts, so this will be perfect. I have my little over a 1/4 cup of water in here, so I'm going to go over to the stove and start draining the apples and put them in, and I'll bring you back before I use my immersion blender because Ben wants it smooth. So I just got the apples over here, and I do want to keep stirring. They're breaking down a little bit, not enough yet, but I wanted to add the brown sugar. So it said in the National Center for Food Preservation, 1/8 of a cup per quart. So I'm just going to add 1/8 of a cup. And I'm adding 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, but I kind of want those flavors baked in to the applesauce. I have to tell you, even before that went in, it did smell incredible. There's something about fall and apples baking. It's amazing. So, yeah, I can break the apples with my spoon, so it's not going to be but probably 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. But I just want that flavor all in there, and they look pretty. So it's been, I don't even know that they've been on for 10 minutes. You want to be really careful when you're using your immersion blender with hot items, hot food. Now, this would be the perfect consistency for mine, but I know I'm going to try. It does need to be hot packed, but I am turning off the burner. And I am going to bring it over here. Okay, a better angle for you to see. So I would like it with some chunks, but I know Ben does not. He wants it totally smooth. So I'm going to keep doing the immersion blender. It smells amazing. I think that 1 teaspoon of cinnamon is perfect. It's not overpowering. And like I said, I think if he likes this, next time I would maybe try just a little ginger in it as well. I think he would really like that. So ginger, nutmeg, and clove, you probably would want to start at 1/4 of a teaspoon. Because it's coming around. It's getting sweet. That didn't take very long. I just don't want any chunks. I want him to like this. Ben is my nephew who has come over many times when I've made, asking if he can make ice cream, so we make ice cream. When he found out I had a freeze dryer, he asked me if I would make Skittles for his friends. He wanted to bring them to his friends. And then he also asked me to do Jolly Ranchers. So, I want to encourage the food. And I don't want him to be like, I don't like applesauce, homemade applesauce, because I left a chunk in there. So if it takes an extra minute or two, I'm going to do that. I think it's important to encourage food dreams. Or food wishes. Okay. Looks like Mott's applesauce. It smells a ton better. And I'm just making sure. It's hot. Let me show you. Smooth. He will be happy, I think, and it smells amazing. So I don't even know if I'm going to get 3 half pints out of this, but I'm going to jar it up. Remember, 1/2-inch headspace, debubble, wipe your rims, and 15-minute processing for my elevation for pints or less. So I ended up with 4 half pints. We are now counting down our 15 minutes because the red pointer is in the dark green, and so processing time is 15 minutes. So we have 4 beautiful half pints of applesauce for Ben. And we have 8 cups of diced apples for Mom to make her apple cake with. And tonight was an easy night for me, and it was fun. It's always fun to make things for other people that you know that they'll enjoy. Thank you for spending the night with me, for coming to the Unconventional Homestead. We hope that you'll like, share, comment, and subscribe, and visit us again and see what we're doing on the homestead. Until next time, make sure you're preserving your food.